Big NBA trade news today, which we obviously had to come on here and talk about. Huge, way out of left field, as I said earlier. Uh, Big news. Damian Lillard gets his request, gets out of Portland, doesn't go to where he wants to go, but still goes to a contending team with another arguably could be top player in the world. We're gonna talk about it. I'm Sean Robinson. This is Grant Rhodes. This is Ballin out. We're gonna talk about the Damian Lillard trade to the Milwaukee Bucks. All right here. Um, so let's get straight into it, Grant. It big trade. I was in network today about I don't know. It was about 2 o'clock, and I realized I keep my phone on do not disturb all the time, so I don't get my alerts, straight down. So I just, swipe down a little bit to see the notification center, and I just see as soon as I scroll down, Damian Lillard gets traded to Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks. Now, obviously, we have some things to talk about, getting to the full trade and things like that, but just give me your initial thoughts when you saw that headline. Just give me those initial thoughts that you had.
Dude, that was crazy. So I'm
Man,
same thing as you, man. I'm sitting there at work, and all of a sudden, you texted in the group chat. Your first text was just no way, and I got out of the blue, literally out of the blue, and
mm-hmm.
was like, what? What is this dude talking about? And then I saw you said something about games, and I was like, oh, okay, so it happened. So then, of course, I go right to Twitter, check everything. And I was expecting, of course, like I think most people or some people, maybe the Hawks kind of were emerging a little bit. You heard a couple of rumblings here and there. I was thinking Miami Heat, that's who he was going to. I just wanted to see the details of it. And then we just got just a nuke dropped on us with Dame going to the Bucks, which is insane. Insane. I love it. I think it's
Crazy.
gonna be awesome. I like initial thoughts. I literally walked up to one of my coworkers and I was like, dude, did you see Dame? And he's like, no, what happened? And I was like, just go look. And like the look he gave me, like I saw on his face was like holy Toledo, this could be a dangerous team. Like I really think that this team, I'll kind of break it down here in a little bit. I really think this team could be something special here. Um, Especially just because I mean they've had some recent playoff struggles. Dame's had the struggles with really getting to the playoffs or making it far into the playoffs. But he's shown that he's a consistent guy, and even when he's on that stage there, that he's competing. So to pair that essentially with like a Giannis who's already won a championship previously with this team is kind of like, holy crap, like that's something right there. I'm not like, and this is like a JV squad kind of version of that 2017 Warriors kind of, I think, with kind of like
Oh,
that
okay.
trio of
Okay.
like Clay, Steph, and Kevin. So I think that team was like definitely more like, okay, like that's like it's over, it's wraps, they
Right.
got it. Like this team though, it's dangerous. Like that's I mean, really, I think the only thing they really need to do is just if they can go out and find a couple more defenders, maybe a backup guard for Dame. This team is going to be dangerous. We've seen past 2 seasons they've struggled pretty mightily there, uh, as far as playoff success. Losing to the Miami Heat and 5 games last year was definitely pretty eye opening for them there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think part of that too was Giannis going down a little bit. He got injured. So that definitely kind of played a little bit of a factor in there, but seeing him at 100% now is going to be just huge to be kind of paired up with Dame Lillard because I think the big thing that kind of initially really struck me was okay, they're keeping Chris Middleton, so that would mean Chris Middleton essentially can be like that perfect third option there, and that's almost what I've been thinking for a while for him because I mean we've seen games where like his career high 51 points, like the dude can light it up. He's not a scrub. He's just not. I don't think he's that consistent, really all star, like that second option. Like he's not like that guy that I think is going to take you there all the time. But you put him as a third option with Dame as your potentially first or second. You could really have them both ways because another concept with that too is kind of that got my mind going was okay. Dame was lighting it up. He was averaging like 33 and 7 assists, last year or something on offense. So
Yeah.
if he's bringing that offense into an already very good offense, why not Giannis work a little bit more toward that defense? He's easily going to win Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion. I think that's going to be a lock. I might go bet it
Yep.
right now, mid pot. I might shout out drafting, but no, I mean, I seriously think that with just that amount of offense there, and the fact that you could kind of go to any of those three, I mean, pretty easily for the most part, and it's going to take pressure off of guys sagging so much off of Giannis and kind of wanting him to come at you right there. It's like, okay, sure, let me just give it to Dame. Let's run a pick and roll. Like, stop that. That's
Yeah.
going to be dangerous. I think that's going to be lethal. And I really just think that that's what's going to get him to that next stage. And uh, really, for me personally, this is a team that I see for sure making it out of the East, making it to the finals right off the bat. I'd be willing to bet some hard earned cash on that one. We'll have to discuss. But I think that they could do it, and I think this is going to be a very very scary team to watch.
Very scary. Yeah, very scary team to watch. I mean, just think about it. Giannis is already dominant player. Like I said, arguably top three player in the league right now. Okay, and you've mentioned that defense, how he has that defense side of the game. The offense, it's unstoppable, right? So now you have to guard the pick and roll, and then you also have to make sure that Dame is not shooting it from 40 feet beyond the 3 point line. Like that's insane. I just think that what this team could do, there's a lot of potential. Now we've seen, like we said, the Bucks struggle in past years, but I feel like with this, with the new coach, with Giannis being focused, we heard him say this summer how he was focused and he was dedicated to winning a championship. But if his teammates weren't on the same page, then he was gonna have to leave. Well, now the Bucks heard that. They said, "Okay, we're gonna we're gonna entice you to stay a little bit." And Dame. Now the big question is Dame happy? He just tweeted a little bit ago. He said, he's happy to go on to the next chapter. We all know that he wanted to go to Miami Heat. That was really like his only one preferred destination. But I think now that it's playing with Giannis, it's going to be a lot of fun. We've seen, and it was also a GQ interview that Damon Lillard did, and he said like one of the questions was, "Who is one of the current players that you'd want to play with?" And he said Giannis. So
Yeah,
to
I
actually see
remember
this
seeing that.
come, yeah, to actually see this come into fruition now, it's big. It's big time. Like you said, I believe that they are going to win the East. We've seen their coaching staff really struggle in playoffs, but I feel like with the new coaching staff, I feel like they will be able to get it done. And you have two dedicated players. You have Damian Lillard, who has only tasted a conference finals one time and got swept by the Warriors. And so now he's hungry. He's going to want to get there. He's going to want to win the championship. Giannis is hungry. So now you just put those two together. I mean, and the Bucks have already had a solid team. Like they already have a good, solid all-around team. Obviously, they lost a key piece on Drew Holiday, which we'll get to like the full trade details here in a second. But I feel like all around, I don't see a reason why this team can't be the best team in the Eastern Conference this year.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Because there's just so much you can do on that offense. Like you run a little pick and pop with Chris Middleton and Dame. I mean, you get Giannis running a pick and pop with Brook Lopez. I mean, I feel like there's just so many like avenues that this offense could have that like is going to make them, I think, truly unstoppable. Again, my only really concern is just can they keep up on defense? Because they were the 27th ranked team, or yeah, team in defense overall
Mm,
last year. That's
mm,
with Drew Holiday, a very, very, very good defender, and you just replace him with Dame, who's very good offensively. Defensively, he's definitely not anywhere near Drew Holiday. But it's
right.
like, okay, if you were 27 with Drew Holiday, there's only 30 teams in the league. It's not like you can get much worse than that. I kind of have a little bit of a worry of kind of like, all the hype around the Nets, just a little bit. I still think that they're going to come out and do just fine because I don't, unless obviously, of course, injuries or anything like that were to prevent it. But just like you said, these are two guys that are just so hungry for a championship. Like Dame is literally at that point in his career where it's like, I mean, like he needs one. Like I mean, he just
Yeah.
needs one. And
Yeah, he's got
Giannis,
to
yeah,
do it
we had
now.
like exactly, yeah, he's got to do it now because at this point, what happens after your Milwaukee stunt or who knows how long this is going to last? I guess because we kind of getting to that
Yeah.
point where
Yeah.
like, is he going to be happy here? Is this kind of like where he wants to be? I think this season is going to be very telling. I think it's going to be a very productive season, though. We could do a whole separate one, I think, if he's going to stay, because I don't think he will actually stay for long term, but I
Yeah.
think they will have great success short term. I really do. I just
Oh,
think
yeah.
that I just think their play styles mesh so well that it would almost be just hard for it not to go well, in my opinion. That's just
And for years, people have been making edits, not of Giannis and Dame, but of Giannis and Steph. Now, obviously, Damian Lillard isn't at the Steph caliber. I mean, that's
I
another argument
mean,
for another day. Yeah, I might be starting some right there. That's another argument we can have. But just overall, just basically a shooter, an all around threat, and you put that together with one of the best all around guys in the game today. I think it's just disgusting. I
it's
can't
yeah.
wait to see it. So let's get into the full trade details. So it was a 3-team trade dealing with the Portland Trailblazers, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Phoenix Suns. Now, for weeks, there have been talks, for the last couple weeks, I should say, there's been talks about the Phoenix Suns being that third team to help initiate a Damian Lillard trade. Now, these talks were kind of paired with the Toronto Raptors, who a lot of people thought that they could do something, obviously because what they did back a few years ago when they traded for Kawhi Leonard. But that was a much different situation than Damian Lillard because Kawhi only had 1 year on his contract left, but Damian Lillard, it's a long term contract,
Mhm.
so it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But full team trade, so Damian Lillard, he goes to the Bucks. The Bucks only received Damian Lillard out of this trade. Blazers got Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton from the Suns, a 2029 first round pick from the Bucks, and a Bucks pick swap. So those, and I know it's another player on there, but I'm not gonna sit here and kind of mess up his name. I'm not. I'm just gonna keep it real with you
Mhm.
guys. I'm not. I'm not gonna do that. But shout out my dude. You're probably a good player.
You
So
gonna
those are the players
disrespect
we got.
Monty Kamara? I don't know if
Hey,
that's how you say it. I hope so. I hope so.
Monty Kamara. Yeah, I could have pronounced that. It wasn't bad. The Phoenix Suns, they receive Yusuf Nurkic from the Portland Trailblazers, Nasir Little from the Portland Trailblazers, Keon Johnson from the Trailblazers as well, and then Grayson Allen from the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Suns got a haul out of it. So let's talk about the Suns first before we get into the Blazers because I got a couple points about the Blazers. Um, the Suns really, for the last 2 seasons, we've really seen how DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns have kind of been on two different pages. They haven't been on the same page. And then last year in the playoffs, you really saw DeAndre Ayton. He was giving up, not grabbing rebounds. I mean, Kevin Durant was sitting there like just trying, and DeAndre Ayton was standing in the background just watching while he was on the court. So there was a lot of questionable things coming into this season if DeAndre Ayton was going to stay. It was the same deal last year. They didn't think he was going to, the team was going to re-sign him. but he had the contract deal, the restricted contract, so he was able to come back and go to the Suns for a year. But with the Suns, with the new head coach and Frank Vogel, defensive minded coach, a lot of people are saying, hey, he can move on. And they go get. That's how the Blazers kind of got into it. Yusuf Nurkic got into the trade talks, and yeah, he does bring a little bit more defense to the table, but overall, he's injury prone. Like this man has been hurt for the past 3 seasons, I believe, 2, 3 seasons. He's been hurt. Um, Long injuries too. Like they're not like a little ankle sprain. You sit out for a week or so. These have been long injuries, sustained injuries that he's had to sit out for a decent amount of games, decent amount of time. We all know how the Phoenix Suns, they are basically going all in this season. They acquired Bradley Beal this summer. So it's a couple of things that you have to think about getting Nurkic. I think long term, they'll come to that once it comes to that point. But I think now, I think just seeing him on the roster on paper, I think yes, overall it's going to be a little bit of a downgrade because DeAndre Ayton was able to, when he wanted to, provide the interior defense, the shot blocking, the rebounding. Use of Nurkic, yes, he can still do those same things, but it's not at the same level as DeAndre Ayton was. So that'll be really interesting. Nasir Little, I feel like he's a great role player. That's basically what it is. Same thing as Keon Johnson. Grayson Allen, it might be one guy that I feel like come towards the end of the season or playoff time, I feel like we could see him kind of fit into the starting lineup just because of what he was able to do in Milwaukee. I feel like we could see a lineup with Grayson Allen, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic. That would be interesting. It'd kind of be a small ball lineup. You're running and gunning. We could see that at the end of the season toward playoff time. That's something that I feel like definitely Frank Vogel would like to use. I think just overall, basically for the Phoenix Suns, I would kind of give them like a B minus C plus type of deal. Obviously they didn't win the trade, but at the same time they didn't necessarily lose the trade. And to be a third team involved, it's not bad at all. So then we get to the Blazers, who they received. Like you said, DeAndre Ayton. It's good. They move on from, there's core guys, basically, who have been there for the past 5 seasons or so. We saw them a couple seasons ago move on from CJ McCollum. And so then Damian Lillard and Yusuf Nurkic were the only two guys there. And now they both go away to separate teams in the same trade. So Chauncey Billups, I feel like he could be able to talk and mesh with those young guys a little bit better than those older minded coaches will. I feel like he would be able to fit in that system very well. And then Drew Holiday. Now, Drew Holiday is an interesting one. Now, I'm not sure if you saw this, Grant, but there is talks that the Blazers are not plans to keep Drew Holiday on the roster. Now, whether that's before training camp next week, if we see another trade in the next 3, 4 days here before training camp starts, media day and everything, it's possible. I don't know. I haven't heard or seen too much about that, but I have seen that the Miami Heat were interested and the Philadelphia 76ers are interested in Drew Holiday as well, which the 76ers, he used to play for them back in the day. So to go back there, I can definitely see that. And I'm not going to go too much into it. We could
Oh
talk
my
about it for
god.
another day, but, if possibly Drew Holiday goes to the Philadelphia 76ers, why not do another 3-team trade with
You
the
mad?
Blazers,
You
Sixers, and
mad?
Clippers? The Blazers get more young pieces, get a couple young pieces, or draft picks, draft capital from the Sixers and the Clippers. The Clippers can get James Harden because he's wanted to move on. Side note, he's not supposed to return to training camp next week for the Sixers, so it could be something we could see happening in the next couple of days or something. But talk to me real quick about Drew Holiday, just about the Blazers overall, DeAndre Ayton and things, how that's going to go down.
Yeah. So just kind of like to end a little bit with the Suns too. Just so like I honestly like I wouldn't like. Obviously, I think the Bucks won the trade because I mean they get Dame. I don't think anybody really lost this trade. Like honestly, the best kind of way I can put this is DeAndre Ayton's relationship with the Suns was like a clingy girlfriend that's dating a guy that just wants to play video games. Like, but they just not go mesh well. You know, she always called me there. She's always nagging him, and he just wants to do his thing. And that was kind of DeAndre Ayton with the Suns. I feel like there was always just tension. You always just there was something going on there, and it was just it wasn't healthy. Well, you knew that
It
he
was
was
time to go.
probably on his way out. Yeah. So
Yeah,
like honestly, if you knew that you were basically losing DeAndre Ayton, I feel like getting that haul of players right there, like that's not bad. Because the Suns, I feel like also just need to kind of round their team out a little bit. They're very top heavy. You know, they're very very. They got obviously KD, Book, and Beal, um, which is just that's a very solid trio there. You just gotta kind of build around that. I think they
right.
did a pretty decent job at that. I mean, given the circumstances that you knew Aiton was going to be gone, so you kind of had to fill a couple pieces there. So I think that was pretty nice. And like Blazers, honestly, like they were just kind of put in a tough spot. Like you knew Dame wanted to go out. Like you knew he wanted out. You knew you kind of, I mean, somewhat had to like kind of fulfill that a little bit. And so you're put in a tough spot. You're obviously going to lose your best players, so it's time to kind of rethink everything. And
Hmm.
so I think they got some good pieces to trade. Like Drew Holiday's a great defender, great point. He's a good trade asset. If they were to look at trading eight in the future, I think that could potentially be something. But you could even build around him a little bit, a little not build around him specifically, but just like have a good solid big man to kind of build a couple pieces there, and then slowly start to build that team back up a little bit. And then of course you got those first round picks and stuff. So you're definitely getting in that right direction there. You're definitely building to get better. So I think, I mean, again, I wouldn't say that they won any trade, but I kind of would say that they got like a B minus.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. That's not bad. Like you said, I could see him as a core piece for that team. Not necessarily build around him, but be one of the guys. Pair him with somebody else. Maybe we could see Scoot Henderson if he turns out to be what he's supposed to be. We could see Scoot Henderson and DeAndre Ayton kind of be the top two of that team. So it'll be really interesting to see what they end up doing. I wish Ayton the best. I'm not going to sit here and say I was a fan of him, but I liked his game when he played when he was supposed to when he played when he was supposed to.
I did not
And
like
then
him.
and unfortunately I had to deal with him in 2021 when he made the value. So I'm sure that there's going to be some Phoenix fans that yeah you didn't think I was going to bring that up.
I did. I actually did. I totally, yeah.
uh,
Wow. Yeah, I
I
kind of
remember
forgot.
about it. Yeah, yeah. Let's go focus back on the Bucks because obviously they were the winners of this trade. What do you see out of this Bucks team? Um, Now, I posed a question earlier, and I actually tweeted about it. I said something about this earlier. Giannis is happy, but is Dame going to be happy long term? Now, you mentioned earlier you don't see Dame really staying for long term. I mean, it's possible that we could see him staying, but I don't know, man. I just feel like one way or another, he's going to. I hope he stays with Giannis. I'm not gonna lie, because like I said earlier, that duo right there is lethal. And then if Chris
Well,
Middleton can play how Chris Middleton, yeah, if Chris Middleton can play how he was when he was an All Star back when they did win the championship, I see no problem why this team can't at least make it out the East. Now, win the championship, I don't know. It's a different story. We can talk about that here in a second, but I feel like there's no question that they should be able to make it out the Eastern Conference this year.
oh yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Because I mean, you look at the past two opponents they've lost to there. Also, I just wanted to shout out the hat there, my boy Gavin Gerke there. You ain't getting this one back, but that's no worries. Uh, yeah, no, I mean, I could definitely see them making that push in the East because, again, like I was saying, the past two teams that they've lost to, being the Heat and Celtics, The Heat, I don't think they definitely did not get better this offseason. They definitely took a real
No.
plummet there. Tyler
Yes.
Hero is not. They're definitely got to work out some things. So I don't see the Heat being that team really. And even if they were still that team, I still think the Bucks would be able to get past them. You look at the Celtics there. I mean, they got a good thing going there. There's no doubt there. I just think just with the extra offense and everything that they've generated, I don't know who's going to be able to really contain Damian Lillard and Giannis, um, and really just contain them in a 7 game series. I don't see that. I see some teams maybe pushing it to 6. I can see that. I could even see the potential like of going to like a 7 in the East, but at the end of the day, like
Mm.
Giannis has been there. He's done that. He's quite literally made it to the what was it? Was it 2021? I believe when they played the
Yep.
Suns. Or
Yep.
yeah, so, I
Yep.
mean, it was really not that long ago. He's got kind of that experience there, and Dame's just got like just that NBA kind of veteran experience, kind of
Hmm.
to know how to like weather the storm throughout like new beginnings, kind of go through all that hardship, and then kind of just still ball out and kind of perform there at the end of the day. So, do I see them winning the championship? I'm not gonna say that all yet. I gotta do a little more research. I gotta get a little bit more familiar with their game, but we'll see kind of going forward. I don't know. We'll again. I'm sure we'll have this discussion down the road, probably once the season gets started. We kind of see exactly what's going on, see how this team is meshing, see if they get off to a hot start, see if they get off to a kind of rocky start. Um, I'm curious. What do you think? Do you think they'll get off to a hot start, rocky start? Because I honestly I don't really see there being too much like jet lag or anything. I think they get off to a relatively hot start.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that this team, like you said, the only really big piece that you lost was Drew Holiday, and then Grayson Allen. He was in the lineup last year, but ah, obviously you're going to take Dame for an upgrade. I feel like yeah, this team can get off to a hot start. I think one thing that is going to be kind of the eye test is not necessarily Dame and Giannis. It's going to be the coaching staff and how they kind of put players on the court with Giannis and Damian Lillard, and kind of how they stagger those minutes and things like that. Because you got to remember, you still have Bobby Portis, 6 man of the year,
Oh, of
on the
course, Arkansas
bench.
Razorback.
So you got to kind of think about those things. And then Jordan Nwora, I like his game. He's smooth. He's a very smooth player. So maybe you could see him, Dame, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, and Giannis out there. Obviously, we can't predict too much because of injuries and things like that. We can predict everything we want, but if there's injuries or something, then everything changes. Um, But I feel like, yeah, this team could get off to a hot start, a great start. I don't see any other team really, other than you said the Celtics. That's the only other team. And honestly, truth be told, I don't I don't see the Celtics staying in that series for very long. I say 5 games. If we saw the Bucks and the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, I say 5 games. Yes, I respect Jason Tatum. Yes, I respect Jalen Brown. I just don't think who's going to guard Damian Lillard. You got to
That's
remember they got rid
oh,
they got rid of Marcus Smart. There's been
yeah, huge
rumors
loss,
that they're
huge
still trying
loss.
to get rid of Malcolm Brogdon, who is their backup point guard. Derek White, oh, that is barbecue chicken, as Shaquille O'Neal would say. Barbecue chicken. There is no way in the world that Derek White is going to be able to contain Damian Lillard. And then, as I mentioned earlier, that pick and roll, plus you have Brooke Lopez who can run the pick and roll too. Brooke Lopez can shoot it too. Like
Pick
this
and pop
team,
too. Yeah,
like it's a good all around team. Now you just add the however you want to put it, 1A, 1B, 1-1. I mean, it doesn't matter because both those Giannis and Damian Lillard are both one guys. Like they're your number one guy. So now you have two of them. It's gonna be interesting to see. And I kind of like your comparison how you said earlier about the JV Warriors, the
oh,
Clay stuff, and the Kevin Durant. You know, I think much of their success though is not going to rely on Giannis and Damian Lillard. I think it's going to be a matter of how healthy they can stay. We've seen in the past both those guys have gone down at crucial moments. Um, Giannis, most notably in the playoffs. So if those guys can stay healthy for long term during the season, I feel like yeah, they should be good. But it's all going to depend on Chris Middleton. I feel like if Chris Middleton, if he gets off to a slow start, inconsistent, like you said, he's been like that inconsistent guy. I think they might struggle because then it's going to be teams literally putting guys out there. Let's say the Memphis Grizzlies, for example, because they just popped my head with some good defensive guys. Marcus Smart now, you have Desmond Bain. You can put those two dudes, on Dame, Giannis in the paint with Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams. But then you leave Chris Middleton open. You hope he's going to make it, but if he's inconsistent and not able to make that shot, that's easy all day. So I think that it's going to rely on Chris Middleton's play, the Bucks coaching staff, and health. I think those three things are three things that we need to watch out for during this Milwaukee Bucks season this year.
I just think, yeah, because you'd see it like in the playoffs, like when they were playing against Miami, like there would be so much focus on Giannis whenever he'd be driving. He'd almost be like forced to shoot. And when he couldn't do that, like Chris was kind of just giving the ball and kind of like go. And like that's just not his play style, in my opinion. So like I got a couple like game two, like last year in the playoffs against the Heat. He shot 16 points, 37% shooting. Like that's without
Mm,
Giannis there. Like, that you can't have that as like your if you're going to be the star there. But again,
mm-hmm.
and then if you're putting him kind of like that third option, like you have like Dame that's going to be kind of picking up on like the shooting end of it. Because like when it came down to the end of the game for the Bucks, like and if it was a 2 point game or 3 point game or something, specifically 3 point game, like you knew Giannis probably wasn't going to get the ball. He's the best player on the court, but he's not. That's not his game. And so like Chris would have to be that guy then. And so again, you're just taking kind of one more edge off of him. So you got all this focus on Dame time. It's like, okay, well if he's getting all this attention, like, okay, shoot, Chris Middleton, get your shots up, like let
Mm-hmm.
let it fly. And I think he'll succeed better in that type of role than he will in this kind of like awkward like Robin sidekick type of thing. So I just feel like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it just didn't work too well. And so I think this is just I truly think this is like the perfect blend for Chris Middleton. I think Dame fits in perfectly here, and I think Giannis gets a perfect kind of counterpart there.
Yeah, absolutely. Last point. We obviously it was such a big trade. So many people are getting on the bandwagon and thinking we already talked about the Eastern Conference. We see no problem with them winning the Eastern Conference. Do you think that the Milwaukee Bucks can win the championship this year?
Oh goodness, put me on the spot like that, man.
I
Oh,
did.
I mean, I can't say no. I've gotten burned on it before. Like I said, the Nets could probably make it to the championship. Nice going, dummy. I've said a couple of stupid things, but like, and again, this is super early, so of course I gotta get more familiar with their game. I want to see how they actually
Right,
play
right,
together.
right.
But that offense is too lethal to say no. I mean, they just I don't think that there's a good enough defensive team to go out there and for 7 games be like we're shutting Dame, Giannis, and we're going to contain Middleton. Like I
Mm,
think you really have to pick either Dame or Giannis who you're kind of going to focus on because I think one of them's going to end up cooking you. Like they're too talented players to not succeed. Like especially I mean like I keep coming down to it. You run a pick and roll with Dame and Giannis. That is insane. That is so
yeah.
lethal. Like that is going to be so dangerous when you have Chris Middleton just waiting to catch that too, even making a backdoor cut. I mean, all of this stuff. Brooke Lopez in the corner for a three. Him post. I mean, there's so many options. Pat Connaughton, even if you want to throw him in there, he's not a bad shooter.
Yep.
There's just players. I just feel like that if you can at least just build up a little bit defenders wise, nobody that's like a distraction, just guys that you know are going to be hardworking, nose down, and just get to work. I don't see why they couldn't get to the championship. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. I don't see any reason why they couldn't. We know about the news coming out of Philadelphia. Is James Harden going to stay? Is James Harden going to not? Some people could say, they could be up there, with Milwaukee as far as, in the East, coming out of the East. I'd say Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Boston will probably be the top three. But no question they're going to make it out the East. Now, winning it all, I don't know. It's going to depend on, I think, matchup. Let's say hypothetically the Phoenix Suns make the NBA Finals. Um, I honestly don't see a world where they win that. Yeah, they're going to be a better defensive team, but I feel like if Phoenix is able to get to the finals and beat everyone else in a competitive West, like they're supposed to, I think so. You have to think about the reigning champs, the Denver Nuggets. Do I see that like Giannis and Dame could beat Jokic in that team? I don't know. And not if the Nuggets were playing like how they were last postseason. If they're playing like that again this season, I don't know. I'm just, and you know how much it's taken me to respect Jokic in his game, things like that. So
About time.
I don't see them being able to beat them, at least with the roster that they have. And the main reason I'd say is because we are going to have to see about that backup point guard position. Um, who's going to kind of step into that role. Maybe they go get somebody else. Maybe they stick with the guys they got, to keep that in house to kind of, and they just deal the position to different guys, shooting guards and point guards. So I don't know. It's on
Hmm.
paper right now. Yes, they're
That's
plus
interesting.
440 betting favorites for all my bettors out there. So
Yeah, I
you
saw that
might
like
hit
plus
that.
360 somewhere. I got like an alert or plus 390 or
it
something like that.
it,
Like that's
it may have
insane.
went up. It may have went up. But I the Milwaukee Bucks have a very good chance to win the NBA Finals this year. Unbiased opinion, very very great chance. And like I said, like I've been saying, and this is going to be something that me personally I'm going to be looking out for all year is the play of Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is going to be he's that third option, but he's that glue guy. He's gonna be that guy that kind of bring this all together. And you've seen this with two 1A guys before. Like you said, the Warriors, that's why I liked that comparison. You had Steph Curry, you had Kevin Durant. No question, everybody knew what they were going to do. Everybody knew what Clay was going to do, but how is he going to fit into that role? Everybody knows what Chris Middleton's going to do. Chris Middleton, I mean, he's won a championship and he had some of the greatest playoff games during that championship run. He's an
He
all
did.
star.
Mhm.
So you can't come up here and say, start disrespecting Chris Middleton completely. But I'm just saying that if he can bring that consistent play night in, night out, especially when it matters most in the playoffs, yeah, I see no world where the Milwaukee Bucks cannot be the 2024 NBA champions.
Yeah, that's crazy that they're gonna get another championship before the Clippers even get to the championship. That's kind of wild.
If we want to do like that, a biased opinion, the Milwaukee Bucks will not win the NBA championship. They will not win the NBA championship. Especially about the news that we just heard. If I'm right and my wishes and dreams finally come true that I've been trying to tell you guys all summer long,
It's gonna
if
be another
somehow,
emergency
some
podcast.
way, if James Harden makes his way to the Los Angeles Clippers, it's gonna be great. I hope it pops up in the next like couple days or something, because yes, there will be another emergency pod just like this one, for that day. That's all we got for today. It was just like you said, a special episode. We're going to be doing episodes like this all year round. If there's some big trade like this or some big news that's happening, we're going to definitely hop on, do an emergency podcast, upload it for you guys, because we want to, hear what you guys have, your thoughts and everything. So follow us, give us a like, subscribe, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that. We're on here. Let us know what you guys think about each episode, how we're doing, and what you guys would like to hear more of. And we'll try to get to much of it as best we can. This is Ballin' out. Let's see you guys till next time.